Everybody, so we rocked up for session 1 today. We were expecting some fun, high fantasy adventures in Fabula Ultima, but instead the GM dropped Warhammer Fantasy on us, which really didn't even make sense because no one read this rulebook, and now we have characters that we made that we just can't use. So I guess session's canceled. I just go home.
I really wanted you to make a joke about the GM getting the GM's D&D Beyond account getting hacked.
What? Why?
Why? Because of what happened this morning?
Oh, because Brett keeps getting fucking hacked.
Yeah. Bro, I woke up this morning, I look at my phone, and I was like, a message from Brett, what the fuck? And then I see it's like, Mr. Beast dollars. Oh boy.
Bro, okay, so I was in a server with Brett, and the hacker really went crazy on that one. So I woke to like a machine gun vibration as it pinged every chat in the server with the fucking beast, the beast, whatever the fucks. And
the beast cryptocurrency.
Yeah, and I literally texted and was like, dog, again? You got hacked fucking again.
For a brief moment there, because it was like 9:30 in the morning, I'm looking at my phone, I'm like just waking up, I'm like, is Brett trading crypto? Dog, what the fuck? Like for a brief moment, I was like, what?
Bro, it made me laugh because I was like, bro, you got hacked. And he was like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I sent him a screenshot and he went, oh, I see.
You're like, God damn it. Oh, so funny.
Oh, I feel a little bad. Everyone's been like, every server we've been in has been ragging on him today. So I feel a bit bad about it, but it was still quite funny.
He'll hear this ragging in a week, so it's fine.
True. It's like a delay.
It'll be delayed, so it's fine. He'll be over it by then.
Oh no, fucking buddy.
Unless he gets hacked again.
Oh my god, bro, I'll cry if I have to wake up to another one of those fucking Mr. Beast things again.
Hey, yo, Mr. Beast coins, let's go, baby.
Can't fucking stand Jimmy. Anyway.
Gonna make some beast dollars with the dead-eyed sociopath himself. Tell me he doesn't look like a dead-eyed sociopath.
No, 100%.
Yeah, like, every time I see an image of him, I'm like, what the fuck?
No, yeah, he scares me.
Yeah.
No, let me not. We're on the internet. Let me not say anything.
Let you not say that Mr. Beast definitely has skeletons in his closet somewhere.
I was gonna say a part of him reminds me of the fucking mayor guy from Castlevania Season 3, but it's fine.
Hey, yo! Yeah. I know what you mean.
But yeah, I found myself, let me set the scene. Boom. Okay.
Let me set the scene.
So I was cleaning my dad's grill for money this weekend because I'm sad and broke, and I'm about 2 minutes from turning tricks on the street corner. And I came across a video from a creator I enjoy quite a bit. Zach the Bold, if you've not heard of him before, you should check him out because he's fucking hilarious. And in that vid, he was talking about... Go on.
That man needs to be on whatever the opposite of Adderall is.
Bro.
he needs to calm the fuck down.
He's got some energy that I really appreciate. I appreciate it.
I was not ready. I watched the video. I was like, damn, brother, calm the fuck down.
Bro, I don't know what we would talk about, but I would want him on podcast. I just want that energy. I don't think he probably has that energy like in person, but I want it. I want to feel it. I don't know,
but I just want those vibes.
I do. I really want those vibes. Zach the Bold, if you're listening, join. We'll figure it out. But in his video, he talks about how TTRPG groups will fall back into like strict party comp setups as opposed to having fun or doing like experimental builds in order to survive a campaign that has been touted as difficult and brutal and dark and fucking edgy. And it's a great video and I like it a lot, and it touched on the idea of like outside of just mechanics, it activated
neurons for Isaiah.
It did. It activated the shit out of my almonds because I have bitched about the idea of brutality and grimdark in games does not always have to mean meat grinder, so it was cool on that front, but it made me think more into the idea of grimdark as a subgenre of media and how a lot of people don't fucking understand it, especially when they're running games and they want that like Warhammer fantasy vibe. So I figured we could dedicate a whole episode to it. Before we get into it though, follow us on your podcast platform of choice, and maybe shoot us a dono over at the coffee at the link. Appreciate it. Help pay Brett so he doesn't get hacked anymore. Nice. But with that out of the way, I figured the best place to start from the avenue of understanding grimdark is talking about what it is as a genre of media.
I do think we should say briefly, his video wasn't necessarily about like the idea of grimdark in games or anything like that. So we're kind of extrapolating from the video itself.
I took the video and
Isaiah honed in on a specific bit.
Yeah, well, because look, here's the thing. I'm not just going to parrot what Zach said in his video. Like, that video was fantastic and you should watch it. I care more about games from a narrative perspective anyway. This is not a new opinion from me on this podcast.
Yeah, he was really talking about like shoehorning your players in terms of like mechanically what they're playing and how they interact with the game and stuff, which is like a different thing. I'm just saying in case anyone goes and like watches said video and is like, this isn't about the same topic. What? We are extrapolating here.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I'm taking a small chunk of his video where he talks about how bleakness in a campaign is not brutality, it's indifference, which is like peak grimdark. And it made me think about my personal misgivings with grimdark as a misunderstood genre, basically. So to that point, what is grimdark? Beginning, its first utterance is in, I believe, the first edition of Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader, where they utter the, super famous term or phrase, in the grim darkness of the 41st millennium, there is only war. And the Oxford Dictionary describes the term grimdark as follows: a genre of fiction, especially fantasy fiction, characterized by disturbing, violent, or bleak subject matter and a dystopian setting. I think that's a good start. I don't think that's anywhere close to a complete understanding of what it is, but if you want a good jumping off point, I think that definition works pretty well. It does, as you can expect, leave out a good amount of the nuance that I think is necessary to parse out the truth of what the subgenre really is. Other definitions I searched up included taking time to mention the general failings of traditional heroism, the moral ambiguity of its characters, and the perceived ultimate futility of fighting the inevitable fall into entropy, with victories often being pyrrhic in nature. And I think we're getting closer. We're getting there, people. Mm-hmm. This is good. I would personally add that the ultimate futility of the situation leads many of the stories to shift from a macro scale down to a micro scale, right? The ordinary and extraordinary individuals in such settings are often trying to change their own situations for the better, often at the cost of others. Look back at the moral ambiguity thing. In most fantasy or sci-fi, take something like Lord of the Rings and Dune, where the stories follow the exploits of like one or more chosen one style characters as they try to shift the scales of good and evil for either like the world or the region or the galaxy in Dune's case. And they're doing what they can to enact meaningful large-scale change in a traditional sense. Grimdark stories are not that. More often than not, if you are viewing a piece of grimdark media, you are viewing the struggles of an ordinary person, right? The struggles of a lone soldier and his men fighting a hopeless battle to let like refugees survive and make it onto a ship. And maybe him and his men die, and maybe some or most of the refugees die, but someone survives. And in grimdark worlds and settings, that one person is enough. That is the Pyrrhic victory. Anything you'd like to add?
Little things. So it's the little things along the way that you have to take your take solace in.
It is, yeah. Like the idea of small victories is such a big part of like.
Yeah, you're not saving the whole universe. You're saving like this one farmer and his shit herding family or whatever.
Yeah. And there are, I mean, we'll talk about it more later on. There are instances where the Grimdark, the victories can expand, but another key part of the Grimdark, again, is that there is always a catch. Victories are never clean cut. They're Pyrrhic, or they're complicated, or messy, or morally gray. And that is a fundamental part of achieving success in some way, shape, or form. Now that we have a good basis and a little bit of nuance, I think it's worth extrapolating on a little bit, because I think
this is the internet. We don't want nuance.
I do. I want nuance. I think that a lot of people find that a piece of grimdark media, just by nature of it being grimdark, mean that it's incapable of being anything else for fear of subverting the brutalist, edgy nature of the media in question, right? Like, when people try to create media that replicates grimdark and they do it poorly, you get, you don't get Berserk. You get, what the fuck? I can't stand one. Garth Ennis, you get Crossed. Right?
Oh.
Which just fundamentally misses the point. Yeah, it just fundamentally misses the point on every level.
Well, the Boys comic specifically, because the show quite a different tact.
Much better. So much better. I've seen stuff on some of the stuff going on for season 5, and like, it's so much better, dude.
I mean, yeah. I think the show realized it's a rare example with the Boys where the showrunners understood the thing that made the original comic hit better than the actual creator did, and so they were able to capitalize on that.
Exactly, yes. I could not have put it better myself, yeah.
Because Garth Ennis is just a fucking pessimistic shitbag is really what it comes down to.
It certainly fucking feels that way, doesn't it? But yeah, the point being is that a work of fiction is almost never a monolith of what it is, right? You can't have an action series that has no comedy or no suspense or no horror or no romance. It just doesn't work, right? Your brain demands novelty, and explosions are a novelty that get old extremely quickly. The same rule applies for everything sucking, right? Everything sucking is a good shock factor, right? I think, another situation that doesn't do this super well, but the rest of the show is Goblin Slayer. I'm kind of calling out Goblin Slayer here, because episode 1 of Goblin Slayer in no way, shape, or form actually informs what the rest of that show is. If you watch the rest of the show, you're just like, this is just D&D Adventure Times. This isn't grimdark fantasy. Anyway,
not as dark as it sets out.
No, yes, because I think, and this is fair, as heavy-handed as the mangaka was, I think there was a clear understanding of this shit will get old and it'll lose its shock value. So I'm going to use the shock value to pull people in, and then I can give them a more mellowed out, if not slightly darker, D&D fantasy thing.
Yeah,
so,
I mean,
there is definitely...
Go on. Well, there's this... I think that's one of the biggest problems with doing the Grimdark thing and people getting tired of it. And because there's a reaction that you get from people online where if you say that your game is going to be like, if you put it on Roll20 or something like that, right? Like as up like a public game and you say it's going to be Grimdark, there is a reaction you get that is very like, oh, geez, not a fucking another one, dude. And I think the reason for that kind of a response really does come down to the fact that when somebody tries to do a Grimdark game, it's like, it's 24 sadness depression simulator with absolutely no.
It is, and it fucking blows.
Yeah, there's no break. It's just the same tone all the way through. But it's honestly the thing that's kind of funny. This isn't actually a problem with Grimdark as a concept. This is just a problem with people not understanding the idea of like genres. Because if you did 24/7 of any genre, if you have a romance show and all they're doing is like fucking making out and doing the will they won't they bullshit, and that's the entire series, you're gonna, even the horniest women on the planet are gonna be like, all right, this is getting a little ridiculous. Can we do literally anything else? You know what I mean?
Imagine, if you will, Apothecary Diaries with none of the detective or actual doctoring, and it's just
right. None of the doctoring, none of the puzzles. It's just the weird romance bullshit. Yeah.
It sounds terrible.
Right.
Like, oh God.
I think for some reason though, people try to do the dark and edgy thing and forget that.
No, I don't think they forget. I think they're afraid. I think the idea, my personal theory, like I said, is I think the fear with injecting any other genre into a Grimdark story for people who don't understand Grimdark stories is that if you make it anything other than this thing, it inherently isn't Grimdark anymore, which just isn't the fucking case. It's just not true at all.
Sure, I just don't understand why people would think that over like any other genre or subgenre or anything like that. You know what I mean?
Because I think Grimdark as it is created, this word's going to lose all meaning by the end of this.
Oh yeah, this is going to be like when I use the word diegetic too much.
Yeah. It is unique in its output of being explicitly bleak and, you know, unhopeful and nothing ever goes well. But that belief just isn't true. And when you are clever and when you have good elements of comedy or horror or romance or action take center stage in a piece of Grimdark media, it creates a point of juxtaposition within the world, and if it's done correctly, highlights the grim, gritty nature by comparison, right? Like, you know, Josh does the sex thing. I'm gonna do an art thing real quick. When you're learning to draw with charcoal, right?
Don't put me on blast like that.
I'm putting
in that
you on
way.
blast. It's fine. You put yourself on blast enough. It's fine.
I know, but I also do the art thing.
When you're drawing with charcoal, right, you create a base layer of gray over whatever medium you're working on, you know, paper or what have you. And as you're creating on that baseline, you create your forms, you create your shapes, and now you have good line work, but there's nothing to fill out that value. And if you just keep going darker and darker and darker and darker, then you just create a page of black and then there's nothing there. So you need points of light in this points of brevity and romance and fun to create that stark contrast between how shitty things really are and what people are trying to make of it. One of my personal favorite examples of this is like contemporary Grimdark is the Vermintide games / Darktide games.
I mean, you're not wrong, but to simplify it down a little bit, ultimately what you're just talking about is you need to have contrast to create interest.
Yeah,
which is one of the core, one of the key principles to making a drawing of any kind appealing.
Exactly, yeah, and this, you know, goes the exact same for writing. You need contrast to create interest.
But I guess the thing that I'm still like, the thing that I'm just not getting, or I feel like isn't adding up, is why why does that point get lost when you're talking about the Grimdark thing, but not in other places? Like, I don't understand why people seem to like forget it in this one scenario. You know what I mean?
I don't necessarily think it's this one scenario. I think you see it across the board at the far ends of any particular like genretic spectrum, right? You have like the same people who think like Marvel movies are just brainless action and there's nothing there, when Marvel has like very good examples of romance and comedy and suspense and sadness, you know what I mean? And there are the same people who think like all horror is like schlocky slasher horror, when that just clearly isn't the case. I don't think it's the only one, but I think it's the one that arguably has it the worst, in my opinion.
Right. But why? Why?
Because I think it has a reputation. I think it's the reputation of what it is mismatching what it actually is. I think it's just it is a failure of media literacy, basically.
Well, then my next immediate question becomes, how did the misinterpretation get so rampant?
I think, yes. Like, well, so, I mean, Warhammer itself doesn't have... No, it's fine. I think Warhammer, the start of this subgenre, doesn't do itself any fucking favors, because Warhammer has 18 trillion authors who all interpret the idea of the subgenre in a different way. And I think, personally, a lot of them don't do it amazing, right? Like you have the like kings of the castle of Black Library, right? You have, ADB and Sandy Mitchell and all those guys who are doing current Black Library stuff. But then they also have these weird offshoot books that I think completely miss the mark. So
right. I don't know. This is probably too much of a rabbit hole to start thinking about it in any complete. It just feels like it feels like the Grimdark thing has created a weird, unique bubble, and I just can't. Like, nothing you've said is wrong, but I also don't feel like I've satisfyingly reached an answer either. You know what I mean?
Well, I think it has the unfortunate nature of not literally being the most contemporary, but it sort of feels the most contemporary with how far Grimdark has come from this small thing in the pages of White Dwarf in the 80s to like what it is now, having like mainstream for the first time with the release of Space Marine 2 and like Secret Level and shit like that, and an Amazon show coming on the way.
I guess
it's like I had a great professor in college who basically was like, people fundamentally don't understand science fiction. Science fiction, when it was created, was more than just what is the future, but it was a cautionary tale of what it looks like when good ideas are brought to their worst logical end, right?
Science fiction is looking at the future and analyzing our current timeline through the future lens.
Exactly. So, you have early sci-fi where it was like, the original iRobot, where the idea of automation becomes the robots who are doing all our jobs for us take over, and now we're the slaves until one guy can save us, right? Like, I think you just see this sort of shift. That's all the only answer I have, really.
No, I know. I it's just one of those funny things in the back of my brain where I'm just like, Grimdark seems to have this weird, unique little spot where it exists, and something about that just tickles my fancy in a weird way where I'm like, what's going on here? What are people not getting?
It's something that I probably will do some more research on. Maybe we'll have another episode on it, just where I will go off about where things got fucked up along the way. Kind of like when we were looking at high or low fantasy, you can sort of tie that back to some sort of cutoff point.
Yeah.
Maybe that's worth doing a little deep dive on. But to an earlier point, I think a really good example of contemporary Grimdark is the Vermintide / Darktide games. I wrote Vermintide twice, which is funny, but Vermintide and Darktide, because within them, terrible things happen to the good-ish people of the Empire / Imperium, right? Like, the onset of Vermintide is...
Good is a strong
the
word.
Skaven Blight, right? The end times, the apocalypse, where tens of thousands of people are dying horribly to the weird rat monsters. And Darktide, it's arguably worse because a planet of people get hit with a zombie plague that is from the actual literal personification of fucking hell itself. And
sick.
yeah. And that seems like a pretty shit time for everybody involved. And it is, including for the protagonists of the game. But it doesn't always seem like it, which is important here. Right? In Vermintide and Darktide, the characters that you play as treat the situation with a level of candor and humor that might seem off base and, crass given the situation. However, it fits perfectly, right? And you see this in real life. In times of great grief and horror, things like humor often thrive as a coping mechanism for people going through it. Ask any veteran you know, past or present, and they will tell you some of the most insanely out-of-pocket jokes you have ever heard. And given this situation of brutal, violent war, how could you not? Right? How could you not find humor in the absurdity of what you're doing?
I mean, yeah, you're just talking about gallows humor.
Exactly. Yes, that's exactly what it is. It's gallows humor. And you'll see in situations of people running these dark, gritty campaigns, your characters make jokes and everyone looks at you like you've got 6 heads. Or characters will be goofy or funny and they will be treated like outcasts. You know what I mean? Like weird pariahs, like, why aren't you getting with the program? But, brother, that is the program. Everything sucks. Nothing means anything. It's time to get stupid because what else are you going to do?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when people are in incredibly shit situations, they make goof 'em ups to cope. That has nothing to do with any kind of writing or anything. That's just how people do.
Right.
That's just how they function.
The point of this being is like, you can look to reality on how to inform people when they're at their worst. And a lot of them get really funny because, again, there's nothing else you can do in the situation. You just have to laugh at the absurdity of the bullshit you find yourself in. Nothing beats.
Plus, fighting giant swarms of murderous rats. Kind of hilarious.
Yeah, where else are you going to hear the, like, have you often pondered about what the start of our race was? And Mark is out here like, hey, frogs. It was frogs. And Saltpire doing the frogs. Frogs. He just gets so mad.
It's true, though.
It is. It's true, but like that situation is funny in spite of itself, but it's also funny because of how just like casual they are. Right? Like the I can't remember what they're called, but like the protagonists of Vermintide are fighting for their life in the apocalypse. They know that they are fucked. There is no hope. They're just trying to get as many
shit
people.
Shit isn't gonna hit the fan. Shit is actively flying around the room at this point.
Yeah, and still they're just like, you ever wonder what made us? And Marcus, knowing there's a witch hunter there and how this guy is going to crash the fuck out, is like, hey, it was frogs. Yeah, I heard it was frogs. Like it's wonderful. It's such an uplifting moment in such a shit situation. And because we know how the end times end, all of the characters you are playing as are going to fucking die. But it doesn't matter because they don't give a fuck anymore,
Oh, do they? Does Vermintide end with Big L?
No, but we know how the actual end times of Warhammer Fantasy end, and it's Big L. You either were lucky enough to get brought to the new universe by actual literal Sigmar the God King, and if you didn't, the world got big crunched. So you're fucked.
I see.
And people didn't like that. And like 3 years ago, they were like, well, actually, this magical bullshit happened and the old world is back. But Age of Sigmar is still here and it's 2 different universes, so we can sell you double the models. Guys, right? And don't you love that?
guys.
Yeah. So it's a level of humor you can find when shit literally can't get any worse. And that's peak grim. Another very good example, this time using romance, and we're gonna timestamp this one because I'm a massive spoilers for Transistor, a 12-year-old game by Supergiant Games, probably one of my top 3 video games of all time.
Particularly for somebody who I know is listening, who should play Transistor. So I'm just gonna. The warning is now. Look in the description. Click the timestampy and hold on. Actually, before hold that thought. Holding. I'm giving you time.
31 minutes.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, in one of Isaiah's favorite video games of all time, Transistor, at the end of the series, the end of the game, rather, the protagonist Red is driven to the brink by the weird encroaching cyber corruption known as the Process. At the point where you fight the creator of the Process, Royce Brackett, much of the world outside of this weird little haven that Royce has created has been just flat out obliterated. Nothing exists anymore but a white expanse of nothing. And after you beat and kill Royce, you do stop the Process very explicitly, but you don't reverse anything. Nothing gets better. Nothing changes. You don't get the world back. The world as your character Red knows it, the pizzeria she loved, the stage she spent most of her life on, the oceans that she would visit with her husband, just don't exist anymore. And, to most people listening, you're like, that fucking sucks. What's the point of the ending? And I'll tell you, because not all hope is lost. Not exactly. Within the titular Transistor exists the lives of every person that has been killed or absorbed by it. And at the point of the end of the game, assuming you're playing it the way you should and absorbing those souls so you can get the extra abilities, there's quite a few people in there. And within the Transistor is kind of like an afterlife. It's called the Country. And it's in an artificial little world inside of this weird sword key thing, distinct from a keyblade. And it's revealed that the person within the sword, who turns out to be Red's husband, fan named Blue, is just there with everybody you saved. And rather than exist in the blatant fucking hellhole that Red finds herself in, stabs herself with the Transistor and dies. And is absorbed by it and is just brought to this afterlife, whichever one could fucking exist. And yeah, it's artificial. But does that matter? Because the world outside's fucking dead. And at least she finds some form of happiness with the person she loved, Like, that's peak fucking Grimdark, fam. P.S. Isaiah got a little misty-eyed while writing this part of the script, so fun facty for you. But with this in mind, and we can, cue end of thing, you can see why people struggle so much.
Cue end of thing? You mean spoilers over?
Yeah, spoilers over. It's fine. You can see...
Cue end of thing.
It's fine. You know what I meant. You can see why people struggle so much to create worlds that feel anything like the worlds that create them, simply because they lack the diversity and the brevity and the feeling and emotion that separates grim from boring, bleak from pointless. And as Zach puts it in his video, brutality and difficulty don't make something dark. It's mundanity, right? It's just the complete fucking indifference to the bad shit that happens. And a world that you're creating that's trying to focus on Grimdark should normalize the darkness, that the bleakness that encroaches on everyday life. And the best way to do that is by creating something for it to contrast against, which could be literally anything from the players themselves to shit that happens in the stories. What matters most are those themes that all things inevitably succumb to evil, maybe entirely, but not exclusively, and not always. Controversial take. Grimdark stories can have happy endings. See Transistor above. And honestly, half of fucking Supergiant games?
I mean, I would say debatable on Transistor having a happy ending.
I think it's happy for those who find happiness in it. You know, like we can't go back into it because we already promised spoilies, but like take another good example, and I don't think Lita's going to play this one, but Pyre. Pyre's ending can suck.
Yeah, Pyre has a couple different endings. That's kind of a weird one.
But if you really try, it doesn't have to. And even like if you really try, you know, the whole point of Pyre is that your character is spoilies again for a almost 10-year-old game. But your character is sent to this like exiled lands where people have to play competitive magical soccer to like win the ability to get out. And the people are sent there are often not actually guilty of crimes. They are just sent there because the evil overlords send them there. And as you get your homies out who are actually resistance fighters, you'll see the ending start to change. You know, one person is, you know, currying favor with the nobles. The other one is rallying the guards. One person is like pulling the Merchants Guild to your side. And assuming you did everything perfectly, the game tells you, congrats, you did it. You overthrew the overlords. But assuming that you got most of them, it says things are looking good, but we don't know how it turns out. And that's the game just tells it's up for you, fam. It's up to you to say what happens. Do you think you succeed or not? That's awesome. But Isaiah, I hear you ask, and you know,
Bastion also ends arguably kind of sad and ambiguous.
I didn't finish that one.
All right, well, you know, that's fine. I guess I'm gonna just jump out the nearest window. It's fine.
Okay, so little fun facty. Turn your
the shortest one.
I know it is. Hold on. When did Bastion come out? It came out, I think, 2009, 2011. So back when Bastion came out, another game released right alongside it called From Dust, which is a god game that I enjoy quite a bit. And I was a poor boy and could only afford one of these games, and I really wanted to play From Dust, so I never had a chance to play Bastion until I was much older. And the game feels a little jank nowadays. Like, it's their first game. It's fair, but I played it for like an hour or two. It was just kind of like, I'm not vibing, and then put it down and never picked it back up.
Oh, you have wounded me deeply, but okay.
Look, From Dust is just a really cool game. I just like the game a lot. Leave me alone. I like god games. I like being able to help my little glup shittos do things.
I fucking guess.
I am a benevolent overlord. I won't strike you down with natural disasters unless you piss me off. And even usually then I'll just smite the guy who did it specifically. Just drop his ass to the ocean and watch him drown. I wasn't the person who like took the ladder out of the pool for their Sims. But I am the one, if one of my Sims pissed me off, had them get struck by lightning. At least it was quick. Yeah, you might be saying, Isaiah, and ew, don't say my full name. What should I do if I want my game to feel grimdark and brutal and edgy like my favorite series? That's a great question. I got you, bud. So, let me set the scene for you. Boom. Let's start with your initial world building. Presumably, assuming you know how to make a world feel shitty to live in, you've got a good start, right? You've created your base coat. Things are gray. Now let's zhuzh it up a little bit. I had to look up how to spell zhuzh, by the way.
I mean, zhuzh isn't a word, so
it's fine. It's a slang term. What? I had to look it up. It's Z-H-U-Z-H, by the way.
Well, I was kind of saying, my point was that it's a slang word, so you kind of can spell it however the fuck you want.
Yeah, but like I didn't know how to start. Like I'm pretty good at spelling, but I was like, how does one zhuzh? Zhuzh. Yeah, Z-H-U-Z-H.
Sure.
If life in a grimdark setting is terrible for everyone all of the time, you need to give them things to do to cope with it. Are brothels popular? Are taverns raucous and lively on the weekends? Maybe there's a single night, a week, or a month, or a year where all the villagers in the town to come together and party because the world can just fucking end tomorrow. Let NPCs lean into things like gallows humor and have them maintain a general laissez-faire attitude towards life, for better or worse, right? Maybe theft is common, maybe murder is common, and in either scenario, they're done with a level of nonchalance rather than dreary somberness. This is truly the key to creating believable everyday life in a shit situation. It should be the indifference to trauma and the coping mechanisms that everyday people use to get through the day. Now, if everything is gray and mundane, who serves as the contrast to the status quo? You know, maybe you can have, and I'm not talking about heroes, I'm just talking about NPCs who you set up to create contrast points. Maybe you have like a foolish but ultimately good-handed band of knights that goes around and against all odds and incredibly dwindling numbers tries to be heroes at the world's need. And every battle, another brother or sister is slain. Every day, their hall goes a little colder and a little emptier. But despite that, they carry on for a chance at a better tomorrow. Maybe the group is an insane, balls-to-the-wall group of orcs that are pillaging villages. But when you confront him, the only thing they want, the only thing that drives them, is a right good crumpin' photo. Ah! Maybe that's it.
Well, that was a lot.
Yeah. Where mundanity rules.
Did you lean back on that one?
I did. I had to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where mundanity rules, revel in absurdity. Have weird shit happen, because that is what's going to make memorable moments when everything is gray. And do you have any questions, any thoughts?
In regards to which part?
Generally painting some contrast in the otherwise gray mundanity of life in such a setting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Listen, I'm not particularly deep into this genre. I mean, I like dark fantasy, but I don't know. It's slightly different. Like, I don't know. Like, I guess. Would you consider The Witcher grimdark?
I would not. I think
no, right?
No,
yeah.
I would just call that gritty fantasy, but I would call Berserk grimdark.
Sure. The Witcher's.
It's close.
It's getting there.
It's
on
close,
the edge.
Yeah. But here's the thing. I wouldn't call. People call Game of Thrones grimdark, and I don't see it. That's just historical fantasy with dragons. Like, and I guess you could argue that historical, history is kind of grimdark in the medieval ages, and fucking fair enough. But
I mean, I get what they mean when they call it grimdark, but yeah, I don't know if I necessarily would call it that. But I'm not super deep in the sauce on this particular subgenre, but yes, I do know that the idea of it's got to be the idea of the bleakness needs to be ever present, but yeah, it needs to be contrasted, especially because a big part of making the whole thing work too is that if like at the end of the day, you're dealing with players who are pretending to be other people, right? So the players know that when the game's over, they get to pack up and go home and go to bed like normal. There's no actual stakes. So if you hammer them with not the hot and heavy. If you hammer them with the dark and heavy all the time, at a certain point, as people in real life, they're going to get kind of numb and bored of the premise because they know nothing's actually happening to them. And so it's not really going to hit anyway. And the only way to make it hit again is that contrast of you throw in an NPC they really, really like and they love him lots, and then he dies horribly and brutally, and then he gets murdered by like a stake being shoved up his ass, and he's stuck outside the king's castle. And then they're gonna be like, now it feels sad and depressing again because you gave us the moment of hope because we made a new friend and now he's brutally dead. So like, yeah, you gotta have those contrast points no matter what, because otherwise you're just sort of, otherwise everyone's just gonna get kind of numb and bored.
They will, yeah. And like, you know, using Berserk, which everybody loves Berserk, it's the favorite thing that tears your heart out every time. Guts has a just remarkably shit one for his short, like 27 years of existence, which you can point
over and over again,
just nonstop. It's impressive, but you can point at every point in Guts's life, and you can see the brevity. Right when he's in the Band of the Hawk, you have Corcus being a complete fucking jackass. You have Pippin being the big like.
I mean, you don't even need to get specific to any characters or anything. They get moments of like, they're treated like royalty. They go to big lavish parties and they hang out and they have fun times together. And like, they take some easy missions where they beat the shit out of the enemy and they're like, oh, that was sick, dog. Like, easy money. You know, they have all sorts of good times. Ultimately, the thing that does make Berserk depressing is that all the good things that Guts gets get ripped away from him.
They do. And they still come back. You know, like,
Casca being like the prime example.
That last abduction, really, I was like, guys, please, we're pushing it now.
I mean, yeah, like, I mean, she even gets ripped away from him. Like, he finds her again, but she don't remember who the fuck he is. So she's like, he gets all of 5 seconds to be like, oh my god, and then JK, you're like,
yeah.
So. Yeah, there's a lot of that in Berserk. It's a lot of like moment of hope and then take that shit away. And there's also a lot of people banding together in tiny little insular bubble situations and just like doing their damnedest.
Well, so
Guts basically collects a fucking D&D party at one point.
I was gonna say, you have Isidoro, you have Puck, you have oh god, what the hell is his name? You got the rapier.
Oh god, what is the rapier guy? I can't remember his name.
I think it starts with it's not a P. And you have Farnese. Like, they sort of serve as Guts's comedic relief and or injection of normalcy into his life. And at this point, Serpico, there you go. And will all of them die? Maybe. Will some of them die? Almost certainly. But
for sure.
They provide much needed contrast to Guts' life and the story, because without them, as much as you might find Puck or Isidoro annoying, if they weren't there, you'd be bored, which is even worse.
Well, or you'd be kind of just like numb, right? You just kind of not even necessarily bored. You just like don't give a shit so much, because you don't want to have a story where you don't give a shit about the characters. Like, no,
true. Yeah, you don't want that.
So yeah, you hit a limit of, you would hit a limit of caring, because you'd be like, oh, if it's not even gonna give me time to feel like something slightly better, then like, why am I putting any energy in it all?
I have a perfect example of this. And I'm not gonna say Game of Thrones, because I think Game of Thrones actually does get you to care quite a bit. I did not give a single solitary fuck about anybody in Attack on Titan.
Okay. I mean, my gut instinct is that that's a hot take, but I haven't watched Attack on Titan, so I can't say.
Fair enough. I didn't give a single shit about anybody. No one. I had no reason to care about any of them. And when they all started dropping like rocks, I was like, well, that one's dead. I don't think the series did enough work, to be honest, but that's just me.
Like I said, I can't really say, but that certainly comes across as a hot take.
I hope so. I hope I get someone in the comments. Well, and back to the point of, all right, life is shitty and sufficiently interesting. I need to make villains. I need to make bad guys who are believable and interesting in this grimdark setting.
Bad guys.
And this is actually the easiest part, frankly. Because villains should vary, as any good story should have, right? If you lean too far into the cold, brutal evil, and the evil starts to feel really samey and one note. And if you lean too far into the absurd, you'll risk some ludonarrative disco biscuits. You need to have villains of all types who inhabit all strata of the evil corporate ladder, as I put it. On the lowest tier, have your, Kefka Palazzo style psychotic mastermind lead a village militia in search of like witches and heretics. Maybe have them hunt down a young child accused of witchcraft while, villagers make jokes and wagers about what awful thing they're going to do to them. Have, a demon stalk the alleys of a large city, silently and brutally dismembering its populace while local guards think of silly nicknames to call the monster. Maybe one lone knight is the only person who actually cares enough to find real justice. And shit, on the highest level, have the evil or overlord, we'll call him Jack, commit the most evil atrocities because he believes that this world of darkness and entropy is better than whatever unchecked bullshit chaos can bring.
Why are you going with Jack?
Garland.
Oh. I see.
Oh, yeah.
Jack Garland. Okay.
I want you to know I set this one up like a landmine for you.
God, I hate that his name is Jack. I really just...
like a bouncing Betty is just too late. Yeah.
Why did they name him Jack?
I don't know.
They couldn't have even hit him with some fantasy nonsense like Jackaquanthus, Jaquathius, Jakai. Like, just Jack.
This is crazy.
Just Jack. They were just like, Garland, Jack.
Yeah.
Okay. Nailed it. Fucking what?
On the topic of random overlord Jack, let's say that, him and his evil overlordness, he's created this like unknowable hydra of an evil empire that will outlast him even if he's stopped. And maybe stopping him actually does nothing, but that's ultimately for the players to decide, right?
Well, I think the trick that needs to work is that you can't dismantle the evil empire, but you can like dismantle an arm of it for the sake of this one little area where everyone lives or whatever, like this one spot. Like maybe the evil overlord lives, like he doesn't live in the area that the PCs live, right? He lives like across the sea in the main empire, like the main empire city, but they destroy the little arm of the empire that is terrorizing the main town they live in. And so like they're in a little small insulated bubble of safety, even though like probably some other bad shit's going to come down the road, but they bought themselves time or whatever.
Mm-hmm. I think, again, I don't think The Witcher is grimdark, but I think The Witcher does a great job of exemplifying this, right? On the lowest level, you have Leo Bonhart, generational psychopath and enjoyer of butchering the children. And he's awesome.
Young adults.
And he's awesome because he doesn't exist and later on he does, but like when you see him, when he's doing all the things he's doing, he's just a bounty hunter. He's just a guy. Whatever he can accomplish, he's going to do with his wits, his sadism, and his fucking sword. But then you go up the ladder and you have people like Amir, right? Who is doing some clearly weird, evil shit.
Some horrible shit.
Just some heinous things. But, he's a king. And that's on a much higher strata than Leo. But then you go arguably even higher and you have... It tries to be suave, isn't really suave, Vilgefortz, and his like world-ending machinations.
Well, Vilgefortz also kind of wants to be an evil king, but yes, he also wants to smash the spheres together.
Yeah. And you have comedically diabolical. You have unhinged, believe you're the own hype evil king. And then you have balls to the wall, bananas, evil wizard shooting lightning out of his dick. And that all exists within The Witcher, which again, I think is just dark fantasy, but the point still stands. Hell, you're going to use Berserk as a good example, right? You have plenty of villains to fall back on. On the lower end, you have the Tudor like lords, and some of them are a little incompetent, or some of them are the like evil machinators. And you have what's his name, Julius, who's basically just Emir without the Siri part,
without the incest.
Yeah. Anyway, and then you go a little bit higher and you have the apostles, and there's a bajillion apostles, like the horse.
I mean, of course, don't bring up the horse. Not the horse. I mean, taking both Berserk and Witcher as an example of what I was saying is, you know, Emir, like, doesn't ever get stopped. Like Nilfgaard. So, all right, I guess I'm gonna spoiler timestamp this one too, because I feel like I'm about to say some shit. So like, I'll just. All right, hold on. I'm gonna make a note for myself.
56 minutes. You got it. 56 minutes.
So, yeah. So at the end of The Witcher 3, there's no stopping Nilfgaard. Like, you can't. There's no. So like, Nilfgaard has invaded Redania and Temeria, and they took over Edirne, and like the whole kit and caboodle. There's no ending where you stop Nilfgaard in any capacity, because like Geralt is the main character, simply can't, you know, like the Nilfgaard is just an incredibly powerful invading army, and like Geralt is effectively Dude McGuy. He simply can't stop them. So the only scenario where you end, your options are basically Emir kind of low-key gets what he wants because Radovid is dead because Geralt kills him. Well, Geralt helps to kill him, I guess. Ciri becomes Empress alongside Emir, and like he chills out a little bit, not really. Or Emir just keeps doing his thing, and somebody else takes over Redania, and they continue to fight. So, like, there's no ending where it's like Nilfgaard was pushed back and everyone was freed. Like, that's just not on the table.
Right, yeah.
It was kind of that idea of, like, Geralt gets his little minor victory of, like, protecting Ciri and protecting Yennefer and Triss and everyone he gives a shit about. Although, you could argue that's a big victory because they do push back the Wild Hunt. But the Wild Hunt, even if the Wild Hunt got what they wanted, it wasn't like they were going to instantly destroy the world or anything. They were just going to invade, which is not necessary. Like, it would just be another war, you know? So it's like, yeah, there's this little insular victory that Geralt gets alongside himself and everyone else. It's kind of that same idea.
Where it is also a little Pyrrhic because they lose several friends along the way.
Oh yeah, a lot of motherfuckers be dying, yeah. And then Berserk, it's like, yeah, you could do all this bullshit that you want, but ultimately, the God Hand is still, you know, out and about. You're not really stopping them.
You're not, no. And I talk about this with Paladin from time to time. He really wants Guts to get, like, ultimate revenge against Griffith. But that's just not Grimdark. It's just not what the genre is. And I wish it was, right? I want, as much as anybody, to see him kill Griffith, because I don't think there's any redeeming Griffith, right? I disagree with the take that Griffith was always an irredeemable psychopath. That's just not true. He just had a very stark and very steep moral decline when he was confronted with decisions that he had to make. But as he is now, Griffith is completely, self-proposedly irredeemable.
Wait, end on the Witcher spoilers, by the way.
Yeah, fair enough. And
but yes, yeah, the ultimate revenge against Griffith is probably not on the table. I mean, maybe it is in some capacity, but yeah, I don't think he's just gonna cleanly like kill him or anything. I don't even know if Guts would kill him, to be honest, even if he could.
Well, yeah, I don't think he would because, well, so maybe now, but, you know, I don't know. Spoilies again, it's fine.
Well, don't be spoiling Berserk for me.
Fair enough. There is a point before the manga has, like, it's not that it's ended, but it's stopped, that Guts is kind of like, maybe I'm okay with my status quo right now. Maybe this is okay. Maybe I don't need revenge anymore. Like, if the manga ended right there, which is pretty much where, Kentaro Miura passed away, I think that could be a perfect ending to Berserk. I think it would have worked perfectly. Guts just being like, it's not worth it. I have what I want, what I've been like looking for, what I've been trying to avenge. I have it now. And, the story demands that status quo be upended, but
of course,
didn't have to be, assuming they hadn't done it. Like, it would have been a perfect ending.
Yeah. I don't know the end. I can't say anything, so I hope you're expecting me to jump in on that one.
No, I kind of realized that a little late. It's fine. Now, moving on to my final points. The heroes of Grimdark stories are rarely chosen ones, like I said. More often than not, they are just normal people with either the right skills or enough luck to survive the bullshit that's coming at them and allowing them to stand up for what's right.
Yeah, it's usually just people caught in a real bad day.
Yeah. People caught in a really bad day who just aren't going to put up with it anymore. And again, they have to be...
Guts is the epitome of that.
Yeah. And you have to, in those situations, the characters that do end up coming out on top are the ones who are smart enough or tough enough or lucky enough. And Guts is really only the latter two, to keep it moving. When you look at what your characters are, if you're going into a Grimdark setting, and I am 100%...
what the player characters are.
Yes. I'm 100% guilty of this, going in, trying to change the world. And
that's actually a really big problem with post-apocalypse games too, is players want to be like, I'm gonna fix the apocalypse. And it's like, no, motherfucker, that's not on the table.
Right, it's not on the table.
It's just not on the table, dog.
And in my case, my change the world for my character was to become a famous gunsmith and modernize war, because the encroaching, my GM took a lot from Warhammer Fantasy, right? The encroaching Vikings from the north. My character's whole thing is, if I can patent a good enough, useful enough, reliable enough firearm, and we can revolutionize war against the evil Vikings, then the people I care about will be safe. He wasn't trying to stop the Viking threat or the evil demon threat. That was squarely out of his hands. But what he did say was, well, I know what I can do, and I'm really good at making guns.
Controlling your small locus of control, and trying to figure out and understand what you could do within it.
Yeah. And I think maybe my character's goal, like I said, was a little too grandiose. Maybe it would have been better if my goal was, I can make good guns and I can defend my family's castle and city. But, the campaign never
that's not that grandiose. You're effectively like, I'm going to make a cool invention for people to use. Also, I'm going to make some money off of it.
The money thing was important. I think by the end of that campaign, Ilias literally patented like 5 or 6 weapons. And I never saw the dividends from that, but it happened. And that was enough.
Yeah, I don't think that's too grandiose for like a darker setting. That's a reasonable... Especially because even if your character was able to get a weapon like proficient, let's say your character invented the 6-shooter, even if they were able to get like 6-shooters ubiquitous enough that they started to be mass produced, the character wouldn't really see the end result of that. They wouldn't really see the fruits of their labor, right? They would only really see the early stages, probably.
True.
So that's not really that grandiose. They're sort of like, all right, I did what I tried to do. Hope it works out.
Yeah, fair enough. So I guess maybe I can redact that, but either way. Returning to the earlier idea of the villains, in the Kefka scenario, maybe the players have defeated the zealot witch hunter, but there's an entire kingdom and a government full of people just as evil and psychotic as that guy. In the demon scenario, yeah, sure, maybe the players killed the demon and they saved the town or the city, but maybe they're unaware of a greater threat of demon summonings, and that's a whole army of demons, and they're just as powerful, if not more, the next city over.
The thing you're kind of talking about is the idea of you can't beat the system, right? You could beat little elements of it, but you can't take down the system. Or at the very least, your little cadre of 4 dipfuck murder hobos can't dismantle the entire system. It's more complicated than that.
Yes.
As opposed to a game like Final Fantasy where, you could just dismantle Christianity. Because that's kind of what happens in Final Fantasy X.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. In Final Fantasy VII, you tell Lockheed Martin to go fuck themselves.
Yeah. So it's like, that is the crazy over the top heroic fantasy shit that Final Fantasy does. But yeah, in like a grimmer setting, it would be like, well, we can't dismantle all of Christianity, but we can kick it off of our, kick it out of Besaid Isles and make sure it doesn't bother us here anymore. Right? That would be like the darker version of that.
Mm-hmm.
And like, sin is still out there, but we're working on it. That's also another thing. I feel like a lot of Grimdark stuff the ending tends to be, we're working on it. Like, we didn't kill the ultimate demon lord, but we made some good progress, Yeah,
and that's all you can ask for is we held back the tide today.
Yeah. We're working on it.
That's really, like I said, it's all you can ask for. I mean, those are always my favorite stories and things like 40K, right? Like the devastation of Baal, I think, is one of the best examples of this. It's a newer book, and the whole thing is about how the Tyranids are coming to absolutely ream the Blood Angels. And they do all this preparation. They call every successor chapter of the Blood Angels. They all get them to surround the planet. They create a massive blockade. There's like 15 chapters of them. There's 15,000 Space Marines against a hive fleet. And by the end, I think they lose 7 full chapters. The planet is almost destroyed. All of the next generation of Space Marines, all the Gene Seed is destroyed. The moon is completely uninhabitable. They used a bunch of chemical weapons on their planet, so chunks of the planet are uninhabitable. And ultimately, they only stopped a splinter fleet of Leviathan. They didn't even beat the whole thing. But they survived.
Mission accomplished, boys.
Yeah, literally mission accomplished, boys. And it's so sick. There's a great bit at the end of that book where Dante fights the Swarm Lord, the big hive tyrant. And he's exhausted because he's been fighting for like 16 hours straight. And his armor is like, he's got the gold angel armor. All the gold paint has rubbed off from all the combat, and it's just the like ceramite gray. And his like power pack is failing, so the armor isn't moving as fast as it should. And he's falling to the Black Rage. And it's such an uplifting scene despite the madness, because he's losing himself to the craziness of the Black Rage. And as he's fighting, he's just screaming at the Hive Tyrant, "My name is Dante. My name is Lucius Dante." And he's just trying not to make himself go nuts. And he does it. He gets this fucking close to like just losing the Chapter Master, but he does it. And it just seeing Dante okay, you're like, that's all I'm asking for. All I needed was my boy to survive.
He's alive.
And it's funny because even him living is grimdark, because the only thing Dante ever wants is to die so that his service can finally end. And he does technically die. His heart stops and he's like entering the afterlife, and he sees his Primarch Sanguinius and he's like, I'm done. It's over. It's finally over. And Sanguinius goes, about that. you are just a little too competent to let you die. So I'm gonna need you to go back, son. And he's like, no, fucking surely not. No,
I need you to go back.
I'm done.
I'm sorry, buddy. You can't. No breaks for you, bud.
He
Get
literally,
back in there, champ.
It's so sad. He's begging and crying. He's like, just let me fucking die, dude. And Sanguini's like, I'm sorry. I can't let you do that. I'm sorry, son. You'll be here one day, but it's not going to be anytime soon. And he wakes up and he's fucking hysterically crying because he was like, that was it. That was my chance. That was my out.
I was free.
That's awesome. Yeah. Even the character, you wanting the character to survive is Grimdark because he wanted to fucking die.
He's like, bro, just let me go. I'm just trying to die.
It's awesome. And you know what we were saying before, right? In the scenario with Jack, the evil overlord. Yeah, they kill him, but you know,
Jaquinius, sir.
Jaquavius, Joaquin.
Whatever the fuck I said before.
Yeah, when you defeat Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah.
You know, the empire he has built was built to survive him. It's not Star Wars. It's not the empire falling with the death of Palpatine. All right, yeah, you cut the figurehead off, and he was an evil space wizard. But now you have to deal with bureaucracy, and that's even worse. Joker's not afraid of anything, but he's afraid of the fucking IRS. You know what I mean? Like,
what a reference.
It's one of my favorites. Your players, the characters need to be happy with making meaningful change, whatever that looks like.
Well, and tiny change, I think, is the important thing.
Well, yeah, like, you know, change meaningful to them, not necessarily meaningful to the overall plot or world. And, you know, if by some miracle they succeed in doing it all, you know, they have to ask themselves what damage is left in their wake. The sacrifices, the destruction, the infrastructure, like heroism comes at a cost. And who's left to pay it? That shit is Grimdark. I should be a fucking scriptwriter. That's really all I got. I like, we kind of talked about the finishing notes, or like my closing thoughts with the Warhammer stuff. So it's this, that's it. And that's Grimdark 2, where it just ends. It's over.
I mean, yeah.
You wanted
an abruptness of ending can also be a thing.
Yeah, look, you wanted some emotional, like you wanted like some aftercare after all that deep, meaningful, really depressing shit. You're not going to get it, bud. Follow us on your social media platform of choice, motherfuckers.
I think the important takeaway is it can't be 100% shite 100% of the time. That you need to mix in some other stuff, whatever that looks like.
Yep.
In order to make the bleak shit actually hit.
A good painting requires extremely high contrast. You need light lights and dark darks, and if you don't have both of them, then you got gray, nothing.
Basically, yeah.
Bars. Peace, motherfuckers, I'm out.
Bars, he says.